This video summarizes the Math 1 lesson titled Dancers in the Middle. This is a develop and solidify understanding task. The purpose of this lesson is for students to discover and apply the midpoint formula. In Dancers in the Middle, the dance team at Podunk High School is making amazing formations. They've had tryouts and they've added a lot of dancers to their team. So they're wanting to take this formation and add dancers that will stand halfway between the girls that are on the outside of the formation. So for example, Haley H, who joined the team, she needs to be halfway between Abby and Brittany. So that places her halfway between point A and point B. Questions 1 through 4 ask you to find the locations of the dancers that are new to the dance team. So let's find a few of them. So let's go ahead and find Haley. Haley's coordinate is pretty easy to see. I'm going to just verify. So point B, Brittany right here, she's standing 3 units over and 4 units up. So her coordinates are 3, 4. And then Abby, she's at -3, 4. So Haley, who is right in the middle of them, she's at the same height. She's at a height of 4. And she's right between this -3 and this 3, so she's at 0. Next, let's find where Isabella is standing. So Isabella is in between Brittany and Courtney. So Brittany we know is at point 3, 4. Courtney is at the point 5, 0. To find where Isabella is going to stand, we want to find the middle horizontally between Brittany and Courtney, and we want to find the middle vertically between Brittany and Courtney. So Brittany and Courtney, if we look at their x coordinates, 3 and 5, we want to find the middle between 3 and 5. So to do that, I'm going to average 3 and 5 because that'll give me the middle. So that means I add them together and then I divide by 2. So 3 plus 5, divide by 2, that gives me 4. So I know that the x coordinate, the horizontal distance, is going to be over 4 because that's the number right between 3 and 5. So then vertically I want to find the average between 0 and 4 because I want to find the middle, which we know is going to be 2. So that means Isabella's coordinates are over 4 and up 2, and that's where we'll put Isabella. Now let's find where Jacqueline's going to stand. So she is right in between Courtney and Debbie. Courtney's coordinates are 5, 0, and Debbie's is 3, -4. So again, I'm going to find the average between their horizontal distances to get the middle. So that would be 3 plus 5 divided by 2 to give me 4. And then I want to find the average y value. So between 0 and -4, the middle between 0 and -4 is -2. So I go over 4 and down 2. And that is where she's standing. Gabriella notices again that the halfway point must be something they've talked about in math class. She sketches a line segment, AB, again, and wants to use this as a way to develop a formula for any midpoint between 2 ordered pairs. So she calls them x sub 1, y sub 1, and x sub 2, y sub 2. Gabriella asks, what is a way I can show the halfway point of the x's and halfway point of the y's? Alright, so what we were doing before is we were just using the coordinates. Even though we didn't really need the coordinates because the problems were easy, we can always use the coordinates and just average them because we want to find the middle. So to find the middle between x sub 1 and x sub 2, I have x sub 1 plus x sub 2, and then we divide it by 2. So that would be the halfway point of the x's. Then with the y's, we just find the halfway point of the y's to find the middle of the vertical distance. So that would be y sub 1 plus y sub 2 over 2. And here is the midpoint formula. So the midpoint formula produces a point. So I'll use parentheses and the comma between them. So the midpoint produces a point where you find the middle of the x's and the middle of the y's to get your ordered pair. In one of their wonderful formations, the girls know that Penelope will stand at 4, -3. Debbie knows that she is supposed to stand at 10, -1, but Caitlin is new to the team and forgot where to stand. Help Caitlin figure out where she will need to stand if Penelope, P, is at the midpoint of Debbie, D, and Caitlin, K. The question that I need to answer is where does Caitlin stand? So I have points for Penelope and Debbie, and I know that Penelope is the midpoint. So to solve this problem, let's start by creating a sketch so that we have an idea of where our answer will be. So Penelope, she's going to stand at 4, -3, so I'll go over 4 and down 3. So there's Penelope at 4, -3. And then Debbie, she's going to stand at 10, -1. Now we need to find Caitlin. So Penelope is at the midpoint, so Caitlin is going to be somewhere over here. And there's a few different ways that we can find this answer. We can look at this diagram. We see that from Debbie to Penelope, it went over 6 units and then down 2 units. So we can do that again. We can go over 6 units and down 2 units. And that would give us our answer. So 6 units less than 4 would be at -2. So 4 minus 6 is -2. And then -3 minus 2 is -5. So that's where Caitlin needs to stand. So that's one strategy for finding the answer. Another strategy would be to use the midpoint formula. X sub 1 plus x sub 2 divided by 2, and y sub 1 plus y sub 2 divided by 2. With this formula, remember this part right here, that's going to give you the x-coordinate of the midpoint, and then this other part is giving you the y-coordinate of the midpoint. For this problem, we already know the x and y coordinate of the midpoint. We know that the x-coordinate is 4 and the y-coordinate is -3. What we needed to find was one of the other endpoints. So we needed to find x sub 1, y sub 1. We have x sub 2, y sub 2, and we have what the midpoint x-coordinate is and the midpoint y-coordinate is. So we can use our formula to substitute what we know and then solve for what we don't know. So we don't know x sub 1. We do know x sub 2. And we do know that the x-coordinate for the midpoint is 4. Right? We do not know y sub 1, but we do know y sub 2 right here. And we do know that the y-coordinate of the midpoint is -3. Now we just need to solve these equations. So to solve for x sub 1, I'm going to start by multiplying by 2 on both sides of the equation. And I'll get x sub 1 plus 10 equals 8. And then I'm going to subtract 10 on both sides of the equation. And I have that x sub 1 equals -2, which is consistent with what we got earlier. For y sub 1, I'm going to start by multiplying by 2 on both sides of the equation. And I get y sub 1 plus -1 equals -6. And then I'm going to subtract a -1. In other words, I'm going to add 1 to both sides of the equation. Since I am subtracting a negative, it's the same thing as adding. And I find that y sub 1 equals -5, which is consistent with what we had earlier. All right, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching.